So continuing with our theme of learning, how people have built, what problems exist, how do we solve. We want to know where things are heading from a market perspective, and who better than some of the leading industry analysts to talk about it, because they see the whole picture. They talk to everybody, and they get all the insights, and then they also have a good ability to communicate. So don't prove us wrong, but the next session is from my friends at Omdia. They are senior and principal analysts. I think all of you might know them already, but please welcome Christoforos, James, and Inderpreet. And they will talk about the Telco Cloud. Come on.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Arpit. We'll do our best. Thank you. Inderpreet, Christoforos. Inderpreet, if you grab the microphone that's on the chair there, because I think you'll be the first to speak. I'll just briefly introduce my colleagues. So my name is James Crawshaw, as Arpit said. I'm an industry analyst with Omdia. If we click on to the next slide, Inderpreet. So I'm joined by Inderpreet Kaur and Christoforos Sarantopoulos, who work with me on the topic of Telco Cloud and network automation, and we're going to share with you today some of our insights, some of the survey work that we do, and where we think this topic of Telco Cloud is headed. So let me hand over to Inderpreet. Please take us away.
Thank you, James. Okay, so we've heard this word cloud native a couple of times already. So let me just put it, why cloud native? What are the benefits it would bring? I think we can say 3 key benefits: flexibility, scalability, and resilience. So when I say flexibility, for a network operator, it means you can use different type of cloud environments. You want to have a network instance spin up in an edge location, in the core data center, or in the far edge location. You have the flexibility. It also lets you want to have it on-prem, or you want to more efficiently use public cloud environment. So that's about flexibility. Scalability, it's more about more dynamic management of those resources. And tools like Kubernetes come to play. So you can scale in, scale out the capacity on demand and in an efficient manner. Now, Kubernetes does it in a declarative manner, so you don't have to put imperative ways, but just give the desired state of your clusters, and that's it. Now, combine it with some of the new age tools like GitOps, and then that sets you for more automation in a more scalable environment. You have multiple clusters, and you want to apply these definitions to those clusters. You can do that in a scalable environment and in a consistable manner. The third one is resilience. That's all about how do you automatically recover the entire state of your network or your network service. Again, Kubernetes comes into play. You have features like self-heal or auto-heal of your clusters. Additionally, on top of this, it also simplifies the way you approach your network, how your higher level orchestration systems are interacting with your lower order resource management systems. You can use the standard Kubernetes APIs for doing that. You can leverage Kubernetes features such as Kubernetes operators or Helm charts rather than relying on purpose-built or black box type of systems. Now, given all those benefits, let's quickly look at where telcos are in terms of adopting or realizing those benefits. So every year we run a survey with the telecom operators to understand where they are on this journey from network appliances to cloud native network functions. I think we already saw some results on that from Arpit, about 40% in a cloud native state. But I think we are mindful here that we are only talking about network environment or network functions. We don't look into what's happening with IT systems, OSS and BSS. So maybe there's some difference in the results. So if we look at containerized, about 19% of the network functions are containerized today. That's an average which different operators have put out here. Now, this number might differ, based on which operator you're talking to. They might be in different states. If you look at virtual and physical, yes, a lot of the networks are still in those states, especially virtual, 35% or around 40% still virtual, and it is going to, or it will tend to stay that way if we look at a 5 years horizon.
Yeah, so that is an interesting takeaway. I can see here that over time, physical appliances coming down, they're being turned into presumably VNFs, VM-based systems, and then they in turn over time are moving to this containerization paradigm. But the virtual network functions, still quite a lot in 5 years' time. In fact, that's the most common platform in 5 years' time. What do you think is stopping the telecom operators from moving straight to CNFs, containerized network functions?
I'll draw upon three key insights here. I think one is that operators or people who are working on these systems are more familiar with, VM-based environments. The second is maybe they are perceived as more secure. For certain network functions, VNFs deliver a more or a better secured environment compared to a containerized world. And I think it's also about, managing your legacy estate. You have already deployed VNFs, invested in that technology, and you would want to reap the benefits of it before you move on to the next one. I think here I will also call upon, what we have seen for containerized network functions in some of our other previous surveys. So if you look into 5 years, CNFs goes to about 33% in this year's survey. And if I refer to our surveys previous years, I think we got a similar result where operators said max they would put on a CNF environment is about 35%. So I can say that, not everything would move into a containerized world, like not everything can move away from the physical world. All right, now that's the technology. What else will cloud native change for telcos? Will it? Let's look at the next slide. Okay, how do they operate their networks? I think, again, we've asked this question consistently to the telecom operators. HCNFV is an important consideration for them in terms of operating their telco cloud environments. Fast forward to 5 years, where would they want to see themselves? Telcos, around 50% of those respondents, they say that they want to adopt or they want to embrace GitOps-like frameworks within their telco cloud environment. What benefits does it bring? I think I would point out two key benefits. One is about the simplicity that GitOps-based frameworks could bring to the telco's cloud environment. The second is they are more suitable, or GitOps is more suitable for a scaled environment. So you have a declarative way of managing things. You have scalability. You have resilience added to that. So that's how I guess the shift is approaching.
Yeah, and I think we should just point out that it's not necessarily an either or. HCNFV is trying to adopt these cloud native paradigms, GitOps, etc. They published a white paper recently. So whilst it's perceived to be very important today, I think it could still be important going forwards as long as they collaborate with other groups, such as the collaboration that they have with Linux Foundation Networking.
Yeah, and let me also point out that well, these frameworks are more aligned with what you see in generic cloud environments. So you're not restricting your telco cloud to specific tools. You want to have, look them, or you want to operate them in how you would look at your generic cloud estate. Now, that leads us to our next slide, where telcos are on a horizontal cloud for their IT and network functions. Now, we've known that telcos have always maintained separate cloud environments for IT and for their network functions. Now, this is the result from our survey, but well, it was a bit surprising because only 19% of the respondents said that they do not have a separate cloud for IT and network functions today. Rest 80%, they have adopted some form of a horizontalization for their cloud and IT and network functions cloud. So 25% said that there is a common IaaS for IT and network functions. 24% said they have common CAS layer, which is something proposed by a framework like Silva, that you want to have a common Kubernetes infrastructure, and that can host your IT or network functions. 32% said they have implemented or embraced some common management practices, which can, you can deploy the containers or apply configurations to those containers in a consistent manner.
Yeah, and just to clarify, so whilst 81% of the respondents said that they had some sort of horizontal cloud sharing between IT and network functions, it was 19% who said that they had no horizontalization at all of their cloud. They were still operating a completely different cloud stack for their IT and for their network functions, because they're perceived to have special requirements, perhaps need special server technology, special operating systems, etc., in order to comply with the requirements very often that the vendor community brings and says, we're not going to guarantee that our network functions will work if you just put them on a generic IT stack. You need to take, in fact, the whole stack from the network function vendor. So that's why we still see quite often that operators get stuck having these different silos for cloud. Okay, well, thank you very much, Inderpreet. Let's hand the mic over to Christoforos and the clicker as well, and Chris is going to take us through the next section.
Yep, thank you, James, thank you, Inderpreet. So let's see what specific characteristics of cloud native make it a good enabler for autonomous networks. And I'd like to start with Kubernetes itself, that can offer the scalability and also the resource orchestration that is needed for self-optimized resource allocation and the efficient network operation. Also, containerization and orchestration can provide resilience and self-healing. So, for example, the automated recovery of a failed container and such cases. The microservices design and CI/CD can also offer a more modular and more streamlined development and deployment of network services. So we have more agility, more automated deployment of new functions, new services. The APIs and declarative configuration can offer can expose the network functions and the underlying infrastructure as APIs and offer intent-based networking. And also Telco Cloud can operate as a common data platform to feed the AI and machine learning models with the necessary data for data-driven intelligence. In our research that we conducted, we tried to see what is the current status of automation within CSP networks. We tried, we asked the operators to try to evaluate the level of automation in their networks and in each specific domain based on TM Forum's autonomous networks levels, models. So, level 0 is completely manual operation, level 5 is fully autonomous networks. What we see from the results is that, first of all, most of the CSPs, more than half the CSPs, are in level 2 or level 3. Now, we had some responses that operators believe that they responded that they are in level 4 or level 5 in some domains, but we think that this mainly addresses specific processes or use cases rather than the whole domain, and especially the whole company's network, the whole operation network end-to-end. We also see that the top domain in automation is IP and MPLS. This kind of makes sense. The technology there is mostly It's not telecom exclusive. It's present in enterprise networks and, more importantly, in data centers that drive the innovation in this area. Fixed access and radio are the least automated. They have a lot of manual activities that go on there.
Chris, before moving on, is it just worth delving into a little bit more detail? A domain is more than just one solid process that you automate. So within these domains, what did you find were the particular processes that operators are having most success with in terms of automation? Where's they get the most value?
Regardless of the domain, I would say that the operators should look for and focus on processes and use cases that could offer the highest value. So in defining these high value scenarios, I would say that two are the elements there. First of all, the business value of one scenario, and also the operational feasibility, how easy it is to implement it. So for example, service assurance, fault management, this type of use cases could be considered high value. They are more easy to implement, and they can have a very straight impact to customer experience. So we can see the value. Other use cases like network planning or network rollout. First of all, they are not such high value because, first of all, they include by nature a lot of manual steps in order to be fulfilled, and also they are not something that happen in day-to-day activities, so they are not such a big burden to operators' OPEX.
Thanks.
Now to move on, in the same research, we try to understand what are the biggest challenges for network automation, and by far the two top scorers is interoperability and integration with existing networks and the employee skill set. So in the first case, operators rely a lot on legacy systems within their networks, and also that and these systems they are not made for modern automation, so they are not API based. They don't support such things, and also there are some standards that try to define the framework for integration within CSP networks, but in reality, in many cases, they are really open to interpretation, and many vendors implement them in different ways. So we end up having a gap there that operators need either to resort to more customized solutions or a sort of middleware to guarantee interoperability there. And then on employee skill set, we see that traditionally CSPs have a very good expertise in network engineering skills, but they lack the modern skills that they need to manage automation. So for example, to manage infrastructure as code, you'll need to have tools like Ansible or and some scripting skills. Or for example, to manage the 5G core, operators will need to have an expertise in Kubernetes to be able to manage it with Helm charts and so on. So there is a gap there. Now, finally, we try to see what is the level of adoption of some software-driven approaches that are kind of tied to the whole cloud-native network management narrative. We see that at this point, CI/CD is the most advanced practice that operators see in the near future. So more around 65% have responded that they have either implemented CI/CD in their production networks in some form or trialing it. So this kind of makes sense. CI/CD will offer this type of faster, more reliable, more secure software updates for network functions, and it also guarantees zero downtime for upgrades with ISSSU. that offers this type of streamlined upgrades for the network. Now we have GitOps seems to be very early stages, but we see it in the future getting more attention. It offers this kind of, as Inderpreet said, this kind of controlled environment for declarative approaches and managing the network based on the desired state. That is something that the operators are very much keen to achieve. So with this, I will hand over to you, James.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, very good. So just wrapping up then, we heard from Inderpreet about the benefits of flexibility, scalability, and resilience that the cloud-native approach can bring to telecom networking. We also discussed how CNFs will coexist with virtualized network functions and even physical network functions, appliances, for some time. We discussed how NFV is moving towards these new paradigms of GitOps, declarative APIs, etc., and that gradually operators are moving towards a more horizontal cloud that will support both their IT applications, including OSS and BSS, as well as the network functions themselves. And finally, Chris talked about the new skills that are required by telecom operators and their engineers in order to manage network automation, and the need for greater interoperability between the systems that they procure for those automation processes to be more seamless. So with that, I'd just like to, I don't think we have time for Q&A. We're not doing Q&A today, but feel free to grab us during the break. And thank you very much for your attention this morning.